The sun sank low over the Atlantic, casting a golden glow across the Sapphire Sands Resort in the Hamptons. Inside a sleek penthouse office, Sarah Bennett, a 50-year-old African-American woman, sat at her oak desk, her keen eyes scanning a profit report. She was the invisible architect of a hospitality empire, Sapphire Coast Enterprises, with 12 luxury resorts and 8 Michelin-starred restaurants. Yet, to her husband's family, she was just Sarah, a supposed diner waitress who'd married above her station. The irony burned quietly as she prepared for their annual family vacation at her own resort estate for secrets, betrayals, and a reckoning. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from her mother-in-law, Margaret Harper, a haughty real estate agent from Greenwich. "Pack light, Sarah. Nothing too gaudy. It's just family." The words carried Margaret's usual disdain, a jab at Sarah's presumed simplicity. Margaret believed Sarah was a nobody who'd snared her son, Daniel, a software developer with a kind heart. Sarah smirked. If only Margaret knew she was texting the owner of the resort she'd booked for her lavish getaway. 5 years ago, Sarah had met Daniel at a tech conference in Manhattan. She was 45, a rising star who kept her achievements private. Daniel, unaware of her wealth, charmed her with his sincerity, asking her thoughts on craft beer as if she were just another guest. Their bond was instant, untouched by her fortune or his family's elitism. When they married, Sarah hid her empire, wanting his family to see her for herself. Daniel knew the truth but honored her choice, though her heart ached when his family's barbs cut deep. Margaret led the attacks. A self-styled matriarch, her modest real estate firm gave her clout in their wealthy coastal town. To her, Sarah was an outsider, a black woman who didn't belong in their world. A waitress, Daniel? Really? She'd sneered at a family dinner, thinking Sarah couldn't hear. Sarah had gripped her wine glass but stayed silent, letting Margaret's prejudice fester. Daniel's sister, Clara, was just as cruel, mocking Sarah's little job with a venomous grin. Daniel always defended her. "Clara, enough. Sarah's work is her business, and she's brilliant," he'd said, his voice firm, earning icy glares from his mother. The Harper family vacation was Margaret's grand performance, a week at Sapphire Sands where she played the generous queen. She rented the priciest beach house, Sarah's property unaware, flaunting her wealth. Sarah watched, amused, as Margaret paid thousands to her own company, bragging about her largesse. This year, though, the air felt charged. Sarah's assistant, Lena, had overheard Margaret on a call, inviting Elise, a polished interior designer and daughter of Margaret's best friend, to join them. "She's perfect for Daniel," Margaret had whispered. "It's time he saw what he's missing." Sarah's jaw tightened. Margaret wasn't just belittling her, she was plotting to replace her. At Sapphire Sands, the beach house gleamed under the midday sun, its glass walls reflecting turquoise waves. Sarah stepped onto the veranda in a simple linen dress, blending in while her sharp eyes missed nothing. The Harpers arrived in a convoy of luxury SUVs, Margaret leading with regal poise, her diamond earrings sparkling. "Sarah, dear," she called, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Help with the luggage, won't you? You're used to hustling." The jab stung, but Daniel was at her side, his jaw tight. "Mom, we have staff for that," he said, his hand on Sarah's shoulder. Clara sauntered up, her designer sunglasses glinting. "Sarah, that dress looks cozy. Staff uniform." Her giggle was sharp. Sarah's polite smile hit her steel. "Just a dress, Clara," she replied, her tone calm but edged. Then came Elise, stepping from a Porsche, her blonde hair flowing, her silk dress screaming wealth. "Daniel, it's been too long," she purred, hugging him a beat too long. Daniel stepped back, polite but distant, moving closer to Sarah. Elise's eyes sized Sarah up, predatory. Sarah met her gaze, unyielding. Dinner that evening was Margaret's power play. At a teak table overlooking the ocean, she placed Elise next to Daniel, urging her to charm him with tales of her latest Manhattan project. "Daniel, you'd love her design software," Margaret cooed. Daniel nodded, then turned to Sarah. "Sarah's got an eye for design. What do you think of the villa's layout?" Margaret's fork froze, her lips thinning. "Let's not bore Elise with Sarah's opinions," she snapped. Clara chimed in. "Yeah, Sarah's probably busy arranging diner menus." The table went silent. Daniel's hand clenched his glass. "Enough, Clara." Sarah's got more taste than most here. As the meal progressed, Elise's advances grew bolder, her laughter too loud, her touches lingering. Daniel deflected her, his focus on Sarah. Margaret kept the pressure on. Sarah, check on dessert. You know kitchens, she said, her smile a command. Daniel stood. I'll handle it. Sarah's here to relax. Later, on the veranda, Daniel apologized, his arm around Sarah. They're out of line, he said, his voice heavy. Sarah leaned into him. I can handle them, Daniel. Always have. But her fingers grazed the master key card in her pocket, engraved with Sarah Bennett, CEO. Margaret, Clara, and Elise were in her domain, and she was ready to strike. The second evening, the resort glowed with jasmine and wine glasses clinking. Sarah stood at the veranda's edge, her resolve iron. Inside, Margaret held court, Clara tossed barbs, and Elise eyed Daniel like prey. Sarah's phone buzzed with a message from Lena, urgent. Check security feed. Kitchen cam. Sarah slipped into the resort's office, pulling up footage. It showed Margaret and Clara in the beach house kitchen, Margaret holding a vial. This'll keep her out of the way, she murmured, pouring drops into Sarah's labeled salad. Clara giggled. She'll be in the bathroom all night, and Elise can work Daniel. Sarah's breath caught. A laxative or worse. She forwarded the footage to her security team. Prepare Protocol 7. Stand by. Protocol 7 was her fail-safe evidence collection, legal notices, security coordination. She returned to the beach house, masking her fury. As cocktails flowed poolside, Elise pressed closer to Daniel, her touches bold. He rebuffed her, staying near Sarah. During a group photo, Elise whispered to Daniel, pressing against him. He pulled away, joining Sarah. She's persistent, he muttered. Sarah's eyes tracked Elise. Let her try. Margaret's patience snapped. Sarah, stop hovering like a shadow, she barked. You're not worthy of Daniel. A waitress, please. He deserves Elise. Guests froze, whispers dying. Daniel stepped forward, his voice a growl. Mom, Sarah's my wife. I chose her. Margaret sneered, glancing at Elise, who smirked. Sarah's heart pounded, not from hurt, but from fire. Elise's frustration peaked later, as she accidentally nudged Sarah toward the pool. Daniel pulled Sarah back, and Elise stumbled, humiliated as guests stared. Sarah's cool stare met Elise's glare. Careful, Elise. The pool's deep. By the third evening, the terrace sparkled with fairy lights. Sarah, in a navy dress, stood ready. Margaret's toast mocked Sarah's small contributions. Daniel countered, toasting Sarah. As dinner progressed, Margaret and Clara's insults intensified. Sarah, check the dessert. You're good at fetching, Margaret said. Clara whispered. Probably used to diner trays. Daniel slammed his fork down. Enough. Sarah's not your servant. Sarah stood, walking to the terrace's podium, her steps commanding. The crowd hushed. Good evening, she said, her voice clear. I'm Sarah Bennett, owner and CEO of Sapphire Coast Enterprises, including this resort. Gasps erupted. Margaret paled, Clara's jaw dropped, Elise's glass trembled. Sarah nodded to Lena, and a screen lit up with footage. Margaret and Clara spiking Sarah's salad, Clara giggling. Then Elise's pool stunt. Murmurs turned to outrage. These guests violated our policies, Sarah said. Their reservation is canceled. Security will escort them out. Elise stammered. You can't. My mother's firm. Sarah cut her off. I acquired it this morning. You're reassigned to our Miami office. Fired. She turned to Margaret. Your real estate firm? Mine now. Your reign's over. Security appeared, led by a calm officer, Tom. Margaret shrieked. We're paying guests. Sarah laughed. Paying me, Margaret. You never asked who I was. Clara sobbed. Elise argued, but Tom escorted them out. Margaret's final glare met Sarah's unbowed stare. This isn't over, she hissed. It is for you, Sarah replied. The crowd applauded, whispering about the waitress who was a queen. 2 years later, Sapphire Sands glowed at dawn. Sarah, now 52, stood on her penthouse balcony, her empire thriving. Margaret's firm collapsed, her socialite status ruined by the viral Sapphire Sands scandal video. Clara, shunned, worked retail. Elise, after a failed stint in Miami, faded from elite circles. Sarah didn't gloat, she built. She and Daniel founded the Sapphire Dreams Foundation, funding education for underprivileged kids. Their marriage, tested, grew stronger through late-night talks. Sapphire Coast prioritized employee dignity, banning guest mistreatment. A preserved salad plate in Sarah's office symbolized resilience, not revenge. Media hailed Sarah as a visionary. Her hiring policy rejected elitism, making her resorts a movement. At the Foundation's second anniversary gala, Sarah, in a crimson gown, spoke of second chances. Daniel stood beside her, proud. As she stood by the ocean later, she thought of Margaret, seen occasionally near the resort, staring at Sarah's name on the sign. Margaret's mistake wasn't underestimating Sarah's wealth, it was her worth. Sarah's dignity was her crown, untouchable. What did you think of Sarah's stand against injustice? How do you view the role of cruelty and fairness in our lives? Share your thoughts below, take a stand, and let's discuss what justice means to you. Your voice matters.